It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now it's time for my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. And Tim, I'm going to say this is an easy one. I mean, it's a slam dunk. You got the new Cracker Barrel logo with Robin Westman. That's the transgender. They're going back. They're doubling down now. They're not conceding to the forces of anti-wokeness. The transgender murderer. Yeah. She's on the new Cracker Barrel logo. Puts the crack in Cracker Barrel. I guess. Anyway, so is that what it is?
Well, you're on the right topic, but
okay.
No, I'm here at the Lebanon, Tennessee airport, and any minute now I hear they're going to be dragging Julie Fells-Massino onto a plane to Stanford. So,
could you explain that one to me? Just like
Lebanon, Tennessee is where the Cracker Barrel headquarters are.
Right. I forgot her name.
Stanford is where she learned her marketing practices.
Sure. Well,
and I would imagine that they will supply her with a complimentary case of Bud Light so that it can really sink in.
I mean, I was just concerned about because, I don't subscribe to the theory that it's strictly go woke, go broke. It's more likely that you were going broke, so then you went woke, but then you still went broke. It's like what happened with ESPN. ESPN people were cord cutting, and so then they decided to go woke. They just didn't make change for the sake of change. However, I'm seeing more and more with the documents that are being revealed that your Stanford chick right there, I mean, she didn't need to do this apparently. So
no, it is a classic case of both Bud Light and this. It's just a classic, a cult classic case of a new CEO not understanding the demographic of the loyal to the brand.
Now, I got to tell you something in defense of the new Coke. Apparently, there were like hundreds of thousands of taste tests, and people said, "Oh yeah, we like this. This is new." So they rolled it out. There was no political ideology behind the new Coke, but of course, it was a massive failure. It sounds like they're driven by ideology, and you wonder. I mean, because it's just the business of business is to make money. I mean, you can't just throw it down the drain like that.
Well, it's not like I said. It's not really woke. It's not like they got rid of Aunt Jemima. They got rid of a white guy. You know what I mean? They didn't get rid of Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, or the Land of Lakes princess. It was a white guy they got rid of. So I mean, it wasn't. That's not really the same. I wouldn't think. But what it was is that people who go to Cracker Barrel don't want modern. You go there for nostalgia.
Well, this is why I was thinking that maybe, as with conservative radio and everything, everybody was dying off. So, and
sure, but then you just appeal to the nostalgia of the younger generation.
Maybe
rather
that's got to be it.
Put in like phone booths and fax machines and compact computers.
Oh man, this is neat. Well, occasionally you see that. Like, you ever watch the TV show Bosch? And he's always playing on a hi-fi, the jazz records that preferably scratch. So anyway, I was only half kidding about having this Robin Westman. Do you know that name now? I mean, it's emblazoned in our minds now, because I was thinking, it was good that we drew the line at Cracker Barrel, even though it wasn't necessarily woke. It was like, this kind of looks woke what they're doing. So let's draw the line here, because if you don't do that, I mean, Applebee's then does use Robin Westman. Okay. And so I think we nipped that in the bud. I mean, it's, we've kind of gotten our stability, our homeostasis back here.
But, no, like I said, it wasn't woke. They just modernized it, and that's not what. Well, they did go woke. They did go woke on the puzzle. Did you know about that?
I had heard about that with the pegs. where they put
Yeah,
the
they have the
pegs
little
in.
peg puzzles at all the
Yeah.
table while you're waiting for your fried chicken to play, and then on the back it has scoring. And if you leave four or more, you're an agnoremus.
Oh, oh, okay.
And they removed that from the back of the
I
puzzle.
see.
Now it just says if you leave more than three, try again.
How nice.
Try a little harder.
How nice. Well, everybody's a winner. You don't want to call people ignorant, am I? So turning now to this transgender thing. I mean, I love Jake Tapper.
That's the puzzle Chris just saw. That's the
Yeah, I
new
just
one.
saw that. Yeah, that is the
That's
puzzle itself.
that's the new one. That it does not say that
Oh,
you're an
okay.
agnoramos.
All right. So Jake Tapper on the CNN insisted that we call the person by the and this, by the way, is Bruce's trans news. You didn't see that. It flashed up very quickly, the subliminal hint, like popcorn in a movie theater to make you go buy the popcorn. Now you're going to want the trans news from Bruce. But Jake Tapper insisted on calling Robin Westman by the pronoun that Robin Westman preferred, which is interesting. That I mean, I would say it's kind of in lieu of the last meal that he would have gotten at that death row since he's dead. That you allow the person to use to have that posthumously. So yeah, okay, fine.
Well, that's CNN. That is. Now, I will say that is a case of go woke, go broke.
to total. Well, but
CNN is the
yeah,
exemplary.
Yeah. Now, I do want to show you. There was and Chris, if you can dredge this one up. There was a tweet by before this even happened earlier this week from a John Lefevre, and it was a graph of how many transgenders there are in the United States now. And the graph, it starts out like in 1939, and you see like from the 1939 to, I'm going to say about, I can't even read the numbers on the bottom, but it seems like about 1967, it's like nobody. Okay. And then it goes up a little bit, and then it zooms up. And now we're at 3.6%, which is, a tremendous increase just over the last few years. And I'm wondering if we should be forced to wear masks to stop the spread. I mean, it just what do you think? Should the CDC? And I know that there's no, they keep firing people there, but maybe it's contagious. It is a social contagion.
I wonder if it's connected to monkeypox. It could be a virus.
No, I mean, there are problems. You don't want to want to be like the idiotic mayor of Minneapolis who says, "Oh, we've got to protect the trans community now because there's going to be a backlash." Well, could we at least get upset? But there's no question. There aren't that many mass shootings in schools. I mean, but it has happened a couple of times in the last couple of years. And both times it was a crazed transgender. I mean, and there is, it's as somebody said, and I don't think jokingly, it's really time to have a national conversation about transgenderism.
Well, you're not supposed to notice it. You're supposed to be like Jake Tapper and say it's a her. That's all you need to know. It's a her.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Now, J.D. Vance weighed in, and a lot of people were weighing into whether their prayers work. Okay, thoughts and prayers. Now, the left was saying thoughts and prayers don't work, and J.D. Vance said, nobody really believes that prayers are a substitute for action. We pray because our hearts are broken and we believe that God is listening. Au contraire, JD. There are some of us who believe that prayer is action, that you can actually pray for things and have things done. I prayed that somehow we would bomb the bomb in Iran. And despite the fact that guys like J.D. Vance and Tucker Carlson and the MAGA right didn't like it, and that Trump himself is kind of is a screwball. I mean, because he cheats on golf. Need I say more? in spite of all that, my prayers were answered. And that to me tells me that there is a
Bruce,
God. Okay.
Bruce, I've been praying for 6 good numbers for I don't know how long.
Keep doing it.
And yeah,
keep doing it.
yeah, and I don't think you see I'm one of those. I think when a tornado hits and rips half the street out and they go to the other half and they said, "Oh, we prayed to God," is to actually think that God actually says, don't hit the side where the praying people are. Go
Right.
take out the other side of the street. I have a hard time believing in that kind of a God.
Look, I don't know. I only know some of the time when God is working. Okay. And I know it was working with Iran. I wouldn't say for the other side of the street.
You see, here's what I think. On the left, on the right, you have people saying, well, when there's a school shooting, we need thoughts and prayers. But on the left, they have something very different. On the left, they say, we need more legislation.
Which is the same thing.
It is exactly the same thing, because when your highest power is the state,
yeah, right.
you don't petition God, you petition the state.
Actually,
they're both legislation and prayers are equally effective at stopping school shootings.
Something. If we were more community oriented and didn't look to the state and didn't look to legislation and didn't look to, well, that's going to take care of it, people would, it would be like Mayberry, where everybody knew the town drunk and the crazy person and they could take care of him. What about this kid? Who was his mother, my friend Sam Schulman on Twitter was saying, it was obvious that, he hated his parents. He went into the school that he was at and that his mother was at one point and shot it up and probably hated them because the mother actually signed off on him becoming the transgender that they really didn't want to be. It's weird.
I think the problem is the 24-hour news cycle. We are rewarding isolated young people with infamy. Yeah. And basically, I think what we need is just stop talking about these. Get them off the 24-hour.
Especially transgenderism, because they want to be known after they die.
Exactly.
They do it for the notoriety after they die. And we were supposedly not going to mention it anymore, but then, of course, we had to. And I'm not going to say that name ever again. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And I interrupted you, Tim, because I wanted to censor you because I didn't want you to say the name of the transgender.
I wasn't going to say the name.
Just to encourage other people in Northwest Indiana.
I think that's what I think actually what we need to stop this problem is just some good common sense media control. Okay. The founders of this nation didn't expect a 24-hour news cycle when they created the First Amendment. They basically it was freedom of the press was a 15th century Gutenberg press. So if you want that, yeah, you can be free. As far as the news cycle, no. Make a law that you can never say the name of shooters. They can only be referred to as that big homo.
All right.
Because I guarantee nobody's going to shoot up a school if it's going to be reported. They're going to show his picture and say that big homo shot up a school today.
Or just use, as was suggested, just use the name that he didn't want and refer to him by the sex that he didn't want to be.
Yeah, that's my response to Jake Tapper. Yeah. You're doing it wrong.
All right, real quickly here. It's kind of interesting. Trump wants to make flag burning illegal, but he didn't actually do it with the so-called executive order. Do you know the nuance?
Yeah, he basically said if you burn a flag and it incites a riot, we can get you.
Or there should be strict scrutiny of people who burn flags so that we can find other things. But that really kind of vitiates the impact of the First Amendment, because it's just like you really are. You shouldn't be watched because you burnt the flag. It's a First Amendment, and even Scalia, as conservative as well, you used to be able to get. Was in favor of allowing it under the First Amendment. And what you could do is you could have a constitutional amendment. It's that important. Have a constitutional amendment that says you can't burn the flag. That's an exception to the First Amendment.
In an earlier iteration of the Tim Slagle comedy show, I used to close with a flag burning.
Oh, which flag was it?
Well, it was actually the it had 15 stripes and 47 stars. It was the official Tim Slagle burnable flag,
Ah,
made in
oh.
China. So it
Sure.
was
It was. Yeah.
wasn't actually an American flag, but it looked awfully close to
No,
one.
right. And I would have worn a T-shirt with that because I like the knockoffs that they're the ones that
Yeah,
don't
it was.
work
I
quite.
guess the joke then was it was made in China, but I guess the joke now would be I ordered it on Temu.
Okay. Speaking of China, uh, I supposedly we were getting tough on China, but now well, first of all, the TikTok ban, forget whatever happened to that. 600,000 Chinese students are going to be coming in to the United States. Somebody said, hey, they just saved higher education because where are the students coming from? So there's going to be 600,000 Chinese. It doesn't look like we're really putting the screws to China. Obviously, Trump is playing once again 8-dimensional chess that I just can't fathom. But you
It's,
can, right?
I don't understand this one. Somebody said if you want to defeat a superpower, make their brightest students go to our schools. It's
Yeah, that's
that
true.
that seems
Okay,
to be says your logic there is teach them all about DEI and send them home.
sure.
That'll see
Yeah, no,
see how
absolutely.
quickly they can destroy their
Well,
economy.
they'll be Americanized. They'll be sitting in front of the TV watching Andy Griffith reruns, all day and eating Ben and Jerry's ice cream and totally lose their incentive. As long as you don't have the tiger mom putting the screws to you and making you study 18 hours a day.
They'll
Yeah,
go
there was
home and
this.
change the Panda Express logo. Or I don't
Actually,
I don't know what the big chain is in China, but I know
there
it's
was
not.
this. Speaking of education, Steve McGuire tweet on college. Apparently, um, years ago, students would spend like in college average something like 24 hours a week of studying, and now they're down to about 10 hours a week, and I it's way too easy, and there's great inflation. I remember that my final year of law school, we read only 40 pages in this one class in the entire semester of conflicts of laws, but we poured over every single word because in the law, every single word matters. So, and the thing was,
And punctuation. And the
everything, yes.
punctuation
Oh,
in between.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, and the professor's name was Convisor, and he kept your interest, as did many in the Professor Kingsfield mode, by terrifying you. Which, let's face it, is the only real way to learn. Okay, nobody's going to learn voluntarily. You got to be terrified. You got to have tiger moms on top of you, and I mean that's what you got to do.
It's maybe they could have gone to shock collars.
So it's Trump. At this moment, he hasn't ordered the National Guard into Chicago, but that's coming. Isn't that right? And apparently, even Joe Scarborough asked Mayor Brandon Johnson at Scarborough of the weekend left, as according to Clay Travis, just eviscerated the mayor by asking him 5 times a simple question: would more police help with Chicago's crime? Wasn't able to answer, and Cujo's, as Michael Jordan would have said to Joe Scarborough. But I'm just wondering, at first I was thinking, well, this is a lot for show and has kind of a Tiananmen Square look with the tanks in the mall in Washington, whatever. But even the mayor of Washington, the radical Democratic mayor of Washington, was citing statistics that supported what Trump had done. So carjackings, murders down. I mean,
Yeah,
just having bodies there.
They're actually so good they might fire the statistics manipulators that have been working in the DC
Yeah, I
government.
mean, it was just kind of
Well,
interesting.
that's what I think. That's what I think the strategy is that he is trying to turn Chicago against Pritzker and Brandon.
I saw a front. What is this? I think there's a T-shirt out now, something about Chicago going red or something like that. I just saw it on the front page of the Tribune yesterday. So it was actually giving a little credit to some very minor movement in the city of Chicago. Saying basically what Jussie Smollett was trying to tell us all along, that this is MAGA country. So I'm just wondering about that. Now here I got to tell you,
if you clean up the voter rolls, I'm quite certain that the disparity wouldn't be as large as you imagine.
Now I got to tell you, I for one wouldn't have minded a National Guard escort when I drove by the emptying out nightclubs on Ohio Street on my way in to do my early morning TV show, Barely Today, on Channel 5 years ago. I mean, it was kind of scary because it was like at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, driving in there. And there was no gunplay that I recall, but, people are drunk. They're out in the street, not observing, the traffic laws. And
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so Chris is just putting on the Chicago Flips, I guess is what it's called. They've got the red sweatshirts, and I assumed I'd never heard of this before.
They don't do somersaults.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's not the Jesse White tumblers. It's not. I'm just wondering. So, Chris, are these, like, I assume, Trump supporters, right? That's
correct.
I'd never heard of this before. I saw it on the Tribune.
They've been going to the meetings and lighting up Brandon Johnson for well over a year.
Okay, yeah, that's where I am. I'm that I'm I'm almost in Wisconsin, so I try to avoid paying that much attention to it. But it will be interesting to see the result. And of course, Pritzker, the knee-jerk response. I mean, Trump has a wonderful way of manipulating people. It's just, I mean, they come out sounding like they're in favor of crime. That's it. That's what happens with, and there is no crime in Chicago. There are absolutely no problems. And, tell that it's kind of like with the school shootings. I mean, everybody always, the white kids who do the mass shootings get all the publicity. But as Jim Garrity pointed out in National Review, the majority, the concentration of school shootings are one-offs done by black kids who are apparently they are
kind of like Elvis Presley and rock and roll, isn't it? It's all over again. It's, hey, we invented it. They took it over, and they're getting all the credit for it.
We did this. The thing is that maybe they're more discriminating, and there's actually more sense to what they're doing. But that is where the problem is. But you never really get it.
Well, they use that in the statistics too when they say, well, the majority of the majority of shootings are cisgendered men. It's like, well, yeah, when you include all the ones that happen in Chicago, yes, they are all cisgendered men.
Yeah.
But it's the ones, the high profile ones, the nightclub shootings, the parade shootings. Highland Park wasn't the Highland Park shooter? Wasn't he suspected of being a they?
I don't know, but I do know that the one just yesterday felt an affinity for that Highland Park shooter, had mentioned him. So there's that community, the community of mass shooters. It's Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and little turning to local news right now. The city, is it a Village Arlington Heights? I mean, when they get the Bears, will they be called the city? And the municipality of Arlington Heights trying to clean things up in anticipation, I guess, of the Bears moving there. I guess when Micah Parsons' contract is terminated by the Packers sometime from now. They're thinking of criminalizing homelessness, making it a crime to be because a woman was sitting on a bench. Arlington Heights considers criminalizing homelessness after a woman sits on a bench for too long. And I got to tell you, Tim, when I saw that story, I had acid flashbacks of my Little League days. Okay, man, because I just, you were guaranteed to get in for 2 innings, but come on. I didn't put on the whole uniform so I could get in for 2 damn innings. I want to pitch, coach. And then he finally did put me in the pitch. And, I got a couple of batters out, and then they teed off on me. It was just like, I just didn't have it. I didn't have it. Meanwhile, just in a related note, just last night, my son-in-law actually threw out the first pitch at the Milwaukee Brewers game. Okay. Chris would be interested in this. I mean, he won it in some kind of contest or something like that. And he is originally from that area. And there was video of it. And he just 61 miles an hour and he pitched from the rubber. Okay. It's not bad. I mean, it was no, little, in front of the mound, underhand toss.
Wow. Good for him.
Just reminded me.
It was a George Bush rather than a Barack Obama.
Totally a George Bush. And of course, I mean, Bush may be the first, come on. That's the best first pitch ever, right? Our whole nation turned its lowly eyes to you. Woo, 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 President Bush. And he nailed it. Absolutely nailed that. All right, look, more local news, thanks to WGN-TV News. A pizza delivery man was held hostage, apparently, because he didn't get the order right. And, I can't blame it. Nowadays, I mean, we've got standards. For one, WJ, Des Plaines man is facing felony charges after officers say he allegedly held a pizza delivery man hostage after becoming upset about an item missing from his order over the weekend. Look, first of all, I think that nowadays you just have to expect that the order, if you can get the order like 75 to 80% right, that's good. On the other hand, so the accuracy isn't the greatest in the world. The speed is unbelievable. I try to tell my wife, don't order because because it used to be that you'd brace yourself for 20 minutes, a half hour. These orders, they're practically there. It's like you're living in a fast food restaurant. That's my experience anyway. It's way too fast.
I remember Domino's had to get rid of their 30 minutes or it's free promise because they're
okay.
Because it was causing too many accidents.
Anyway, so do we have a picture of that pizza delivery man or no? I didn't see that. I wasn't looking carefully. Chris, do we have the pizza delivery guy?
So how did he hold him hostage? Did you point a gun at him and saying you're not leaving?
I think he sharpened the edge of an anchovy. I think.
I mean, if he took him in and tied him to a chair, I think I saw that movie.
Yeah. Okay. Right. All right. So, just in your mind's eye, there's the picture of the man. He's a balding man.
Kind of looks a little like Mark Levin.
A little like Mark Levin, not as crazy, but okay. So there's that story. Now I know there was another story recently. I think it was a local guy who was sentenced to 89 days in jail because he faked his death in order to be able to go on a kayak, pardon my Billy Joel, trip. And do we have the picture of that guy as well? I just have a feeling, I don't know, maybe I'm profiling right now. They all look like the same guy to me. But I know Chris is trying to fish that out from the reservoir.
So he wanted to go on a kayak. How did he fake his death?
He I don't know how he faked the death.
Did he just call into work dead?
I don't know what he did exactly. I didn't, I'm not a detailed guy. I just have the headline is that
only so much information in 250 characters.
All right. Here's the picture of the guy. Well, I mean, he kind of looks like the other guy, the Des Plaines pizza guy. If the Des Plaines pizza guy shaved the beard a little bit, I mean, am I profiling? Maybe they all look the same to me. The Cracker Barrel old guy looks like that too.
I don't see the resemblance.
Okay, you don't. They all look the same to me. All right. tried to tie that one together, but I couldn't do it. In any,
No,
the other guys,
not at all.
you know, all right, on closer inspection, maybe they're brothers from a
Not at all. The
from a
first guy
different
looks
mother.
like Timothy
I don't know.
McVeigh. The other one looks like Mark Levin.
All right, yeah, all right, fair enough, fair enough. So I gotta make a point right here. Something I noticed. The New York Times spelling bee does recognize the word neocon. Okay. Does not recognize the word natcon. How about that? Think about that. Think about
Does it spell neocon without a hyphen?
it does spell it without a hyphen. Yeah, there are no hyphens in the spelling bee, man.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah, but
Isn't it hyphenated? I would think.
I know neocon is not hyphenated, but natcon is not recognized by the New York Times. It's just they sneak in their political beliefs all over the place. As a matter of fact,
speaking of Mark Levin, he said that neocon is a dog whistle for Jew.
Oh, totally. Always has been.
Yep.
Yeah, the neocons. They're the ones that, the ones who forced us into the first Iraq war, and the second one, I guess, and i.e. the Jews. So there's this guy, speaking of the Jews, and now it's time for you could just switch the subliminal.
Nice segue, huh?
Yeah, Bruce's Jews news from Bruce's trans news. So there's this guy, Leo Leibovitz. All right. He had a tweet that said he was really upset, quote unquote, scare quotes, with the New York Times because so no one at the New York Times thought maybe including the expressed name of God as a crossword puzzle clue may, be a tad offensive to some Jewish solvers, or was that the point? Either way, nice work, heathens. So they actually had, and I saw this the other day, they had Yahweh was the answer. I actually tried to put in Adonai, which is a Hebrew word, but actually Yahweh was the answer. And you know what? You're not supposed to really be saying the name of God in something so trivial as a crossword puzzle, although I was so happy I got the answer right. Okay. But anyway, I responded to Leo Leibovitz and said,
so it was his name who could not be spoken, and there wasn't enough spaces for Voldemort.
Exactly. So they didn't put that in, but I responded and I said, look, we're subsidizing the New York Times and their front page pictures of non-starving Gazans. We're supporting that by paying for the games, for the crossword puzzles and connections and spelling bees, because that's the thing that's underwriting the New York Times. I mean, you could look at their books. I mean, that's what people subscribe to it for. He then responded to something. He then said that it's kind of a fun thing for him to read the New York Times, and a guy named Sam Schulman got involved. It was a whole Jewish thing on Twitter, and Sam Schulman said, "I get your argument for reading the New York Times, but alas, as a family man, I can't accept the accompanying risk of a cerebrovascular accident." So, I mean, this is what I love about Twitter. I mean, it offsets all the anti-Semitism and the and the porn, which I still think I maybe I looked one time at Paige Spiranek, the buxom golfer, and then they got the algorithm on me, and I'm going to be nailed, forever. And they're going to constantly show lissom golfers to me.
Well, Facebook is really sneaky. It doesn't just register what you click on. It registers your scrolling speed.
Are you serious? I thought you were going to say my
scrotum
speed.
Oh, you didn't know that?
So they see how that you might be pouring. So it's not actually a click. It's not actually a view.
No.
But if your eyes look at
it's a it's a hesitation.
We've been watching episodes of the Black Mirror lately, and like I forget if it's all the seasons. It's all about, the dystopias of in every one of these episodes. There's a guy like John Hamm or whatever who has some kind of camera in his eye that records everything in his life, and everybody knows what everybody's doing all the time, and we're not that far away.
No, No, I think that's going to happen. I think all these pictures and videos that everybody's taking of everything are all going to be compiled by AI, and you will be able to in the future you will able to actually with VR you'll be able to go into the past. You won't be able to alter it, but you'll be able to see everything that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, but that was one episode of Black Mirror that we just saw the other night. It was just this guy actually you could
Just
record
his
everything,
pictures.
and
Yeah,
he
his
saw his
pictures.
wife having an affair
Yep.
in the past, and it's like the ultimate courtroom case where you can impeach the witness by showing, well, here's what you did then. I mean, it's like Tim Russer did that, in a rudimentary form on Meet the Press. He'd always come up with these things, inconsistent statements that people had, and the whole thing was, what did you go into the public library and the microfiche and find this stuff? How did you find? Well, now everything's there, and everybody's inconsistent all the time. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. I'd be remiss if I skipped over Chris's, because he puts the rundown out and rundown out here, and he reminds me a little of the producer that I had for this early morning show that I referred to a little bit earlier in the podcast. And I was doing a show at 4:30 in the morning.
The one that
I had
took
to
you through
read my own
the
script.
maze of drunks.
Well, I had to read my script that I wrote from my teleprompter, at 4:30 in the morning. And usually I had a headache. Like my head felt like it was splitting, because if I only got like 4 hours of sleep, and it's easy to get only 4 hours of sleep if you're in to do a 4:30 in the morning show.
Sure.
It was impossible. This guy would write jokes, insert jokes in the middle of my script, anti-Bush, who was the president at the time, anti-George Bush jokes, and I had to try and edit on the fly. Wow. And
you couldn't have just read them?
You know what? I hated that he had done that. I hated that he had inserted that. Now, Johnny Morris, considered like one of the greatest sportscasters of all time in Chicago, because not only was he the sportscaster for Channel 2 when people actually watched the news at night at 10 o'clock, but he was also the analyst for a lot of the Bears games on TV. So he had all this credibility. Nobody did that, but he was the guy who did that. But when he would do the sports on TV, all of a sudden he'd start cracking up. Like he just lose it. And I found out, because, I'm in the business. And in those days, the teleprompters were paper scrolls. Okay. So you could actually put in pencil something. His producer would draw penises over the words. And Johnny was so juvenile. Well, because, he's a football. He's a jock, right? I would have laughed too, because all of a sudden you're reading about the 8th race at Arlington, and buck passer. Oh, there's a penis. So,
Paper teleprompters. Wow. Did they have to crank the cameras back then too?
Everything. What would happen is you'd stand there to do the highlights, and then it would go, smoke would go, but you had to keep still for 45 seconds, and then then you'd have a daguerreotype or whatever it was of the of the sportscast. Oh, those were the early days. Anyway, all a roundabout way to get to the fact that Chris, our producer, in the rundown just puts in warmonger Bolton. Okay, because I don't remember using that word. I have met John Bolton. I think I've mentioned this before, at the 2012 Republican convention. Sat across from him. We talked about the Oak Ridge Boys. I love the fact that he was in favor of bombing the bomb for years, and we finally did that, and he actually praised Trump for that. However,
I admire the fact that he's never trimmed his eyebrows.
I look at it as a plus. But apparently, and we could always write this off to the fact that this is an old dispute about a book that Bolton read and wrote about Trump that was anti-Trump, and that's why Trump wants to get back to him. And I believe that's why Trump wants to get back at him. And the pretext is that Bolton did violate whatever the act is. I'm trying to remember.
Well,
probably
he sent that book to the publisher before the NSA cleared it.
Well, there's disputes about, there's so many different disputes about this, but the wrinkle now is what you were talking to me about in the break, that there is some evidence. I mean, let's see what he has to say. I mean, he's lawyering up right now, but there is some evidence that what is the latest?
Oh, that he put classified email on a private server, and it had been intercepted by foreign operatives. So he actually he leaked maybe unintentionally classified information to the enemy. So
yeah,
that's
look, I mean,
that's firing squad time.
I'm sure that we can go down the rabbit hole of comparing him to Hillary and to Trump and to Biden, all of them who did this, and people don't get prosecuted for this. But I will accept the fact that he may be guilty here, and if he is guilty, then he should pay the price. Can we retroactively hang Hillary? That's all I'm asking for. That's all. Go into the past, as you said.
It actually could be vengeance because you notice that he's going after Letitia James for mortgage fraud. He's going after John Bolton for taking classified documents home. He's actually going after the people that prosecuted him for what they did. The same thing he was charged with. The irony is delicious.
Poetic justice. It's
it does seem intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no there. Look, I think we probably get Trump. I'm thinking on a RICO violation because there's a pattern here of going after people. Look, I once represented. We're talking about the spelling bee and what's on the spelling bee. There was a word the other day that the spelling bee did not recognize, and the word was barratry, Barratry, and there's a good reason they didn't recognize it, because the Illinois Appellate Court doesn't recognize it as a cause of action. However, when I was a young attorney, I got the Cook County Circuit Court to recognize that. And what was barratry? It was the willful and vexatious stirring up of lawsuits. Okay, speaking of Donald Trump and what's going in lawfare against somebody. We represented a podiatrist who was an expert witness in a number of podiatric malpractice cases. And the way the other side retaliated against him was to get people to sue him. So there were a whole bunch of lawsuits against him for malpractice. And so we went into court on his behalf, trying to get the other side to be found liable for stirring up this these vexatious lawsuits. But the appellate and the Cook County Court bought it as a cause of action. I actually created law, but the
barratry sounds like something that you would get put in the stocks for back in Plymouth, Massachusetts, by the Puritans.
And that's where it probably came from, that century.
Egregious barratry.
Yeah. It didn't come from an era, that far removed from the era you're talking about, and the appellate court didn't recognize it because you have to look at everything on its own merits, just like you really should look at everything on its own merits with regard to Trump, with regard to Hillary, with regard to Biden, and with regard to Bolton. But that doesn't seem to be the way that works in the mobocracy that we live right now, because this is
in his decision, Royce Lamberth actually said that Bolton committed criminal acts. Is likely he opened himself to likely civil and criminal penalties for getting that book to the NSA. That was his decision. He said he wasn't,
but he didn't stop. But he couldn't, because they'd already been allowed to publish it, I guess.
Right. He already said it's out there. The book's out there, so there's no. I have no, and the plaintiffs only want to stop the book, and stopping the book at this point is irrelevant.
Right.
However, he has opened himself to criminal and civil penalties.
Sure. Well, we'll see. To me, it's let the chips fall where they may. It's just interesting. The counter argument, which I've already enunciated, is is that, well, everybody did it and nobody got prosecuted for it. Although Hillary did lose the election in part because Comey in the last second, the last weekend,
said we
raised
found
the
more.
specter and that she dipped.
We found
point,
more in a folder with Anthony's wiener.
Right, totally. So, all right, where are we? All right, real quickly, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Forget about this is a major cultural moment. People are talking about how young women are now going to be inspired to get married where they weren't before. As soon as they get their first billion, they're going to be ready to get married.
I don't know if you heard the rumor is that they had to get married.
Oh,
yeah, because apparently Travis is pregnant.
Well, I was hoping that the wedding. First of all, we're all hoping. First of all, we're glad that he married a woman. Okay, I mean, today. That's great. But the other thing is, I'm hoping that it's on Red Zone. You don't watch Red Zone is where they have, you have eyes like a fly where there's 8 things on the screen at once, but we could call it Red Wedding Zone. Oh, wait a minute, that's not a good one. Yeah, Red Wedding. Kind of inviting some violence in there, but yeah, it's. I mean, here's my question: does Trump, especially since he's like getting 10% of everything right now, like Intel getting 10%, and does Trump get the right of the first night with Taylor Swift? I just, what do you think? Oh,
I think that might have happened already.
All right.
Bruce,
So,
did you see the utterly embarrassing CBS White House correspondent where she sees the news on her phone and tries to get CBS to go back live to her and says she feels like Paul Revere breaking this news? Have you seen this?
I heard a reference to Paul Revere, and I didn't know what it's from. Thank you for tying it up for me.
Do you want to watch this really quick?
Huh?
You could watch it. I actually have it pulled up.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, this woman.
One if by land, two if by sea.
And she uses the word ginormous as well. And this is our educated White House correspondent. Anyway.
Olivia Rinaldi, CBS News. We'll have Terry Drinkwater in Lake Michigan and Roger Mudd of the Okefenokee Swamp coming up. But here is Olivia with a big story.
Look at this idiot.
Taylor Swift is engaged. Come back to me. She just posted it. Oh my God. Oh it's huge. The ring is ginormous. So exciting. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's on her Instagram.
That looks like one of those things that's like in a sitcom or something when a newscaster does something that say, boy, you'd never see a newscaster actually do that.
You won't be able to see this, but like Walter Cronkite, I'm going to take off my glasses and sigh because this is a horrible, and that's the way it is. That's the way he jizzes.
Yeah, courage.
The weekly wrap. Good night.
And that's the weekly wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The weekly wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.